The irritable bowel syndrome is very common. It's about 1 in 5 people have IBS. So we're seeing a lot of people with issues after having antibiotics.
Particularly the females, there's a lot of discussion around concerns around bloating.
Yeah, oh God, I look, 6 months pregnant. It's horrible. I hate it. I'm having to change all the clothes that I wear.
We eat a lot of processed food. There's some evidence to show that our modern diets aren't necessarily the best for our gut. All I keep thinking is my dad going, my generation doesn't eat enough dirt. Maybe there's some evidence to that. The amount of times we'd be on a beach and mum would catch me with somehow sand in my mouth.
One thing I wouldn't do is do a food intolerance test because it is not accurate. Hey, don't waste your money. I think you can easily spend a lot of money in the gut health world and you really don't need to.
That puts a spanner in the works. Welcome back to the Not Quite Pod. Today we've got Rosie with us. Rosie, just quickly want to introduce yourself and let everyone know a bit about yourself.
Yeah, sure. So I'm Rosie Hogg. So I am a gastroenterology dietitian and I run Oxford Gastro Dietitians with my co-founder, Catherine Nash, who's also a dietitian. We offer one-to-one sessions and group sessions for anyone suffering or having symptoms of any part of their gut. So inflammatory bowel disease, irritable bowel syndrome, celiac disease, number of different conditions. So that's what we do.
I'm actually really excited for this because it's a topic that's very close to my heart and very much something that my partner battles with every day. I'm quite lucky that I seem to get away with it, although times can change things, so we never know what's in the future. But I'm so looking forward to finding out a bit more about what you do and sort of giving our listeners a bit more a chance of understanding what you do and how you can support them. So my first question is, being a dietitian is quite a unique job to go into. You tend to have quite a big interest in it. It's not something that you kind of fall into. So what made you want to become a dietitian?
Well, I'd say actually my mum sparked my excitement about it. So sort of growing up, she was very much cooking really healthy, yummy meals. She was very healthy herself, and I don't know, she got us involved a lot in like the cooking and like learning about like why things are good for us and what they do for our body. So honestly, I think my mum was a massive inspiration for me, like growing up in a household that, yeah, for sure, we had our little snack drawer and would have our little snacks and bits of jelly and whatever else was popular in the 90s. That's kind of where it started really. And then I started kind of learning a little bit about sort of nutrition myself. And then went on to do it was a public health nutrition degree. That was my kind of first degree. But yeah, that's kind of where it started really.
Going off topic a little bit, it's just something that I often think about when someone's got a knowledge on health, fitness and diet. Do you think it taints like your view on foods now? Because I often feel, having been quite a high into my high level sport, I got naturally, as you initially get into it, you get quite obsessive, and then even to this day, it still changed my view on certain foods. Like I still eat all of them, but it's kind of, you automatically look at it and go, should I really be eating this?
Yeah, that's so true. And I think I feel like with myself, I've seen the change in my like energy and motivation and like health issues, like if I'm not eating well. So I really notice a difference when I eat really well and look after myself. Yeah, of course I have treats as well, but I really notice a difference in mainly my energy levels and like picking up bugs. Like I don't often pick up bugs now because I think I really love nourishing my body. It feels really like good, and also doing the job that I'm doing and recommending that people eat well and nourish their bodies, it would be a bit counterintuitive. But then I was like, oh, it's fine. Like,
very true.
Not doing it myself. So yeah, it just feels good.
It's interesting as well because it filters into everyone's everyday life. Because I think it's the thing that people think, oh, it's not going to impact me. But actually, as I sort of joked about at the beginning of the episode, you never know what's going to change. Like I've got family members that have picked up allergies now that they never used to have, things like that. So you really don't know what's going to change in the future, really. But what is gut health? Like when we think of gut health, like I think it's not necessarily a new topic, but it's one where people don't necessarily know what it is. They think, oh, it's just like making sure you eat healthy, and I'm like, there's a lot more to it than just that.
Yeah, definitely. And I think, yeah, like you say, it's definitely a topic that's been spoke about a lot at the moment. But I suppose I suppose it's come about and become more popular in maybe really the last sort of like 10 years or so. But what I would describe gut health. So first you need to think about what the gut is. So our gut is the whole of our digestive system, basically. So from our mouth to the end. But where a lot of the focus is around gut health is one part of it. So in terms of that, you'll often hear about the gut microbiome and that sort of thing. And actually, the health of your gut almost stems from your large intestine. So that, where you say your tummy is, where you feel your tummy is, that's where your large intestine is, and that houses all of these different types of sort of bacteria, good bacteria, bad bacteria, all these different things that we need a really good balance of. We need the bad ones, we need the good ones, and that's kind of the main focus of gut health. If that part of our gut is healthy, i.e. it's really diverse, then the rest of our gut should be healthy. So if, for instance, I don't know, you're getting reflux where you get burning sensation up your throat, it's a very common symptom, that may come from foods or stress, but it could also come from, and often we see it stemming from like your large intestine, where all this kind of bacteria is in your gut microbiome. So yeah, overall it's the whole of your gut, but really a lot of it stems from there.
And a lot of the time, like when we talk about gut health and things like that, some topics of intolerances come up. So there's a lot of people now that have intolerances to dairy and so on. What are some of the more lesser known gastro difficulties, I guess would be the right word, that people are experiencing?
Do you mean in terms of like symptoms or intolerances specifically, or?
More so symptoms, because I think when I think of any gastro difficulties, I naturally lean towards intolerances because it's the one that I have experience in. But obviously, there's a lot more to it than just that.
With a lot of our clients, I feel like the most common symptoms, that we're particularly seeing at the moment is the change in like lower GI symptoms, so your lower gut, so like your diarrhea, constipation, bloating. They're very, very common symptoms. But you sometimes see like where you get excess gas, and upper GI, like sort of sort of reflux, where you get this burning sensation. But I'd say more often than not, we're getting people come into clinic with these kind of like lower gastro symptoms, the sort of diarrhea, and sometimes people will often have it where it's like a mixture. So they'll have like they'll be really constipated one day and then really lots of diarrhea. So it can change over time. But yeah, I'd say those are the most common ones that we see.
But I know obviously you can't speak because you don't know. No, it depends person to person. But what are some of the common causes of gut difficulties?
There's a few different ones. I'd say, well, IBS, irritable bowel syndrome, is very common. So I think it's about 1 in 5 people have IBS. So that is obviously a diagnosis of an issue with your digestive tract. There's a very specific sort of diagnosis criteria for it. But yeah, often IBS is So that's sort of like one of the reasons, and that could be because of genetics, or it could be environmental. There's quite a few different potential reasons for that. We're definitely seeing more people since having COVID, having more digestive issues since then, because we need more research on it. But the research has been showing that it could have an impact on your gut microbiome, so that bacteria, and that could put you more at risk of getting digestive issues. And the other big one is antibiotics, because it's so often being overprescribed. And so we're seeing a lot of people with issues after having antibiotics. And the thing with antibiotics is you could have had them 10 years ago, but they could still be causing you issues if you haven't been nourishing your gut. So that's definitely a big one. Like 7 times out of 10, there's been, people have had antibiotics, and that's been a link. So that food poisoning as well can be quite a common one to sort of trigger symptoms. If that was what, for me, when I was 16, I had food poisoning, and ever since then I had symptoms. So I'd say those are probably some of the main ones we see.
The antibiotics one is really interesting, because so many people get prescribed them. I've been prescribed them. How do you go about if something like that is so let's say, for example, a person is their IBS or their difficulty has been caused by the taking of that medication. How do you go about fixing it?
So the first thing that we'd say is if you're about to be prescribed antibiotics, what we recommend doing is making sure that you can do things in your diet or potentially supplements that will keep as much good bacteria as possible. So you're kind of counteracting what the antibiotics may do. So that could look like nourishing your gut in the way of including 30 or more what we call these plant points, so like your fruits, vegetables, nuts, seeds, herbs, spices, because they can add diversity, lots of diversity to your diet. You may want to also include like naturally probiotic rich foods, so things like your kefir, kombucha, sourdough. So you're adding some probiotics, like good bacteria, into your gut. Or having a probiotic supplement. The thing with a probiotic supplement is, you really have to find a good one. It's quite hard to find one that actually reaches your gut. But if you're taking antibiotics, you have to take it at a different time, because if you're taking them all at once, then the antibiotics will just kill the bacteria in the probiotic before it actually reaches your gut, which is where you want it to get to. You want it to get to your large intestine. So we tend to recommend doing one of those, both of those, all three. And then you want to do that for a couple of weeks, at least a couple of weeks after you've finished the course of antibiotics. So, we can't guarantee that will stop all of the strains of bacteria that will probably be reduced by the antibiotics, but at least we can probably try and save some of the ones that may be affected by them. So that's what we tend to recommend.
How long does it take your I'm also again talking from the IBS sort of background, but how long does it take your gut microbiome to sort of rebalance, if that's even such a thing?
That is a hard question to answer, because we don't have enough research yet, to be honest. It could take months, 6 months, a year, more than a year. And I suppose, we don't have enough research to give us a timeline. And also, it also, I suppose, depends on, are you doing anything to nourish your gut? So if you are putting all these things in to nourish your gut, maybe it'll be quicker. But there's really not enough kind of evidence out there at the moment. Like we've got some clients who they'll be going through some dietary changes. At that time, they can't tolerate the foods, but then they nourish their gut. And, I've had a few months later, they can then actually tolerate those foods that they couldn't at that time. But that's case by case. So, unfortunately, we don't have good enough data to say to say, yeah.
The other thing I was thinking, because the reason I asked you that is because I was wondering, there's a lot of people out there nowadays that are extremely busy. We're very frantic. We're often eating God knows where, God knows when, God knows what.
Yeah.
How do you advise clients when it comes to really busy lifestyles and not knowing where they're going to be from point A to point B when they're trying to nourish their gut and get back on form?
Yeah, I think I do think this kind of thinking about like the plant points can be really helpful, because it's not like the sort of 5 a day campaign where you have to get the 5 fruits and vegetables a day. It's trying to get as much variety in the easiest way you can, really. So, for instance, I don't know, like, if someone's busy, frantic, having to rush out, to work or wherever they're going or whatever that day is bringing them, you can literally make pots of, like, you can have granola, you can have seeds, you can put so much, in one breakfast you'd easily have at least 10-15 plant points in one breakfast. And sometimes people will make that up and just have it as like a sort of easy snack or something. So that's quite useful. And then also, again, using your herbs and spices as much as those, like really just using as many different flavour combinations as you can. That's a really simple way to just add loads in, and it's not like it's going to take more time or you're going to have to think more. You can just add in all, more of the ones that you love. Don't just add in oregano, add in the mixed herbs, add in the rosemary, add in, so much. So that's quite useful. I think that makes it a bit easier. And we often recommend like batch cooking as well, or like there's certain like companies that we work with, like certain sort of much healthier, nourishing sort of ready meals, or like the the sort of meal prep sort of ones that you can use. So I do that as well, because sometimes I just don't have time to cook. So sort of the batch cooking, I think, makes life a lot easier.
Obviously, you spoke about like the batch cooking and the companies out there that offer the better food options if they need speed. But in terms of if you're out and about, where are there any places that are good to go to, or a good place to sort of lean on that you've seen? Because I'm just thinking a lot of people, it would maybe be that they've just been caught out and now they've got to try and find something that kind of meets their dietary requirements.
Yeah, I'd say, it's a hard one, because I mean, restaurants and supermarkets, things are definitely getting better in terms of providing like free from options. But I'd say some of your petrol stations on the side of the road, maybe not. So if you've got the option of finding one which is like Marks and Spencer's or like an actual sort of Waitrose or something like that, you're generally going to get more options. And I've noticed that, myself, when I've been looking, market research, looking for options, that's quite helpful. I do find, so say for instance, like someone's following like kind of gluten-free, there are certain websites that you can go to if you do have time to look ahead at, places you're going to stay for the weekend, or places you go on a holiday. Like there's a charity, called Celiac UK, and they've got a place on their website where you can search for, it's celiac certified restaurants, but basically people with celiac disease have to follow a gluten-free diet. But you can search on there and search for all the sort of gluten-free, sort of restaurants. Cool. So that's quite helpful. I do find also like there's certain like influence out there. So people who have, for instance, celiac disease, or have to themselves follow certain diets, they can also be helpful, because they might do blogs. Like there's a lady who does a blog about, when she's in Paris or in London, and just puts really nice videos of all these places. So that's quite helpful, and that's why I follow a lot of people to get more ideas for wherever people are.
That website sounds amazing. I've got so many friends that are celiac, and I know from trying to book restaurants, it is so hard to try and find something that caters for everyone, especially if you've got multiple dietary requirements, and it becomes quite a challenge.
It's hard, and I think ringing ahead makes it easier for sure as well.
Definitely ringing ahead, and like you say, speaking to people that have been there, done that, got the T-shirt is also an amazing thing. I wanted to come back to a point that you made earlier, just because it was something I realized as you were talking. You said obviously adding spices and a very varied diet is extremely important. And I'm going to ask you this question, and it's very off the cuff, so if you can't answer it, don't panic. But is there any evidence to show that if you are introduced to a healthy gut diet at a young age, that you have a better gut going forward? The reason I asked that was because it was a realization that I had. I'm very lucky that my mum is a very decent cook and cooks a variety of food. So I was introduced to a variety of food from a very young age. So, and I'm now with a partner that has gut difficulties, and then I sit there and go, I'm fine. I'm wondering, is it maybe that?
Yes, very likely. Yeah. So there's a lot of evidence that looks at both how you've eaten sort of growing up, but also it even stems back to like how you were born. Like if comparing like C-section to like vaginal birth, like there's a difference there in, you know, people's and sort of children's microbiome as they're growing up. So, you know, with babies who are C-section, they don't get covered in all that amazing bacteria that they need to be covered in, and it takes longer for their gut to build up that sort of bacteria. And then whether you're breastfed or not, if you're breastfed, obviously some people can't do that, but if you are, then again, you're more likely to be getting more of that sort of building up that good bacteria. And also need a bit more, but there's some evidence if the mother is nourishing their gut, the points of giving birth and breastfeeding as well, then again, you're more as the baby, you're more likely to get, you know, to have more of a diverse microbiome as well. And then it seems we still need a bit more data, but it definitely seems that it's heading that way. That if you are nourished as a baby and through childhood, you're more likely to have a much more nourished gut compared to someone who maybe had like the smiley faces and baked beans every night for dinner.
Yeah. The reason I'm smiling is because all I keep thinking is my dad going, my generation doesn't eat enough dirt, and maybe there's some evidence to that.
Yeah, that is true. I mean, we did a program, gut health program a little while ago, and that we were looking at all the evidence, and even things like if you've grown up on a farm and, you know, you're not using all the million cleaning products that we now have in our store. If you've been around, grown up with a dog, you know, all these things build up the bacteria. And that's, you know, potentially, there's no evidence really at the moment, but potentially, you know, obviously since COVID, all of us, you know, went super hygienic, you know, washing our fruit and vegetables. Yep. We were doing all of that. So, you know, I wonder if there's something in that as well, because of all the sort of cleanliness that so many people, I mean, we had to do it, right? But
yeah, I think it's really interesting. Like, as I say, I just think when I was younger, like the amount of silly things I did, the amount of times we'd be on a beach and mum would catch me with somehow sand in my mouth, and I'm going, so clearly there was some positives there. I knew what I was doing, clearly. The other thing I wanted to ask on the topic of, like, obviously growing up, we've spoken about growing up. Does gender or race or all of those come into play when it comes to gut health? Because obviously men have a slightly different diet, some religions have slightly different diet, women have slightly different diets occasionally. Are you seeing any trends with the patients that you treat? Are you seeing more females come in, more males come in? Is there sort of any inkling there?
Yeah, there's a few things to unpick there. So with IBS and the studies that they've done, in terms of men and women, they found that more women than men are diagnosed with IBS specifically. Now, some of the questions there are: is it that with women, is it that we've got sort of the hormones impacting and causing sort of more symptoms there potentially? Is there a difference in who presents to sort of doctors to get diagnosed? Is there a difference there potentially? So that's, it's not like clear cut to exactly why there's a difference. But yeah, definitely the data shows that more women than men are diagnosed with IBS. In terms of race, there's been a couple of studies, but nothing is clear cut as to sort of like genetically if there's any difference there. So we don't really have enough evidence there, which isn't good because we should have far more than we do. And was there what else did you ask then? I feel like I've missed something.
It was, but you've answered most of it. It was around like race, religion, and gender in terms of if there's any impact on dietary difficulties or dietary difficulties or dietary changes that impact people having more difficulties.
Yeah. So I mean, there isn't. I mean, I suppose they definitely need to do more research because obviously diets can be so different between races, of course. But we don't really have enough because there's just so many differences there, but we don't have enough, unfortunately.
Do you think like the I'm again using lived experience of the friends that I've got, and particularly the females, there's a lot of discussion around concerns around bloating. Do you reckon that's maybe a reason why females are seeking support more often because they're seeing the visual impacts of it and the physical impacts, and that's leading them to then go, actually, do you know what? I'm going to go get this checked, and then it's found out that they have some gastro difficulties.
Definitely. I feel like, sort of self-esteem, self-confidence wise, I know that being a woman, we can be very self-critical about what our bodies look like. And it's not just because of us, it's because of, social media and all these other factors that come into it. Of course, that's the same for men. But as a woman myself, like I definitely know that, sort of self-criticism comes in there. And definitely like a lot of the people who are coming in, we definitely get more women in our clinic than men actually. A lot of them, their sort of typical thing they say is, oh God, I look, 6 months pregnant. It's horrible. I hate it. I'm having to change all the clothes that I wear. And, I think that may play a part in that symptom. They really hate having that symptom. So then they present and want to kind of get it sorted.
I mean, I also just want to go, but I didn't mean to isolate women there. It was just as my lived experience leads me to that question. But 100% with men, it's definitely there. And to be honest, having met more people that have had more gut difficulties, it's then made me more aware of them. So even I'm sitting there going, do I need to get this checked? Do I need to get this looked at? And then most of the time, I'm be honest, just too lazy, and it's another thing to add to the list. But that tends to be my general rule of thumb. But do you think the modern, talking of we spoke about diets in terms of possibly, particularly with race, it have an impact. Do you think the modern diets had a massive impact on the amount of people you've seen come into the clinic? Because we eat a lot of processed food, even myself being quite into my sport, I eat protein bars on a regular basis, which probably aren't the best thing when it comes to eating more whole foods. But is there some evidence to show that our modern diets aren't necessarily the best for our gut?
Yeah, that there is, and I think so. In terms of fiber is one of the key nutrients that can nourish our gut. And in the UK, we're terrible at reaching getting enough fiber, and for sure, I think, especially at the moment, and I think where a lot of products and fruits and vegetables, and even today, like olive oil being £8.70 or
Yeah,
something for a
I was
bottle. I
I
think
was talking about that with my in-laws the other day. I was saying, why is olive oil so expensive?
it's crazy. It's so I didn't buy it. I thought I'm just gonna get some sunflower oil instead. It's crazy. So I do think that in order to get enough fibre, we can get it from a number of sources, but our fruits and vegetables and things that nourish us can be more, can definitely be more expensive. So that I don't think that helps. I think obviously at the moment there's a lot of talk about like ultra processed foods and things like that. And yes, we've definitely got a lot more processed foods surrounding us. So like when you leave this, when you're ready to check out at the supermarket, there's all these foods in front of you. And if you just wanted to go and get like a quick lunch, you've got all these snack bars and all these crisps. And then, you don't really see the lovely rice cakes and fruit bars. You never see them there. It's just the chocolate bars and crisps. So I think I think we are surrounded by the rubbish because that's what makes the money for the companies, but it's not good. It's not good for our health because we can't keep. It's fine to have processed foods, right? But if we're having so much of it, we're not going to get enough fibre. We're not going to get all the nutrients that we need to. So yeah, I think it's a bit to do with the cost, and also to do with what's constantly sort of thrown at us, and even on social media, there's so much that sort of pops up all the time.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, what's interesting you say about fibre? Obviously you said there that the UK struggles to get in its fibre. Can you not taking in fibre regularly mean that you then struggle with an intolerance to it, or it causing gut difficulties for you later in life? Because I'm just thinking, I've got a number of friends that they try and steer away from fibre because it makes their gut uncomfortable, makes them feel uncomfortable. Is there something true to that? Because it's interesting that you say in the UK we struggle with our fibre.
Yeah, so with fibre, that some people do struggle with certain fruits and vegetables, and there can be a number of reasons, but sometimes it can be because some of them are more fermentable than others. So when fibre reaches your large intestine, you've got all that bacteria, and what that bacteria is doing is fermenting the food that comes in. So that's kind of the process that's the sort of process of digestion, I guess. And some people can be sort of, I guess their gut is more sensitive to the foods that are really sort of highly fermentable, like, I don't know, apples or something, or like onions and garlic and things like that. So for some, yes, they may like maybe, the people that they may have an intolerance to those. There's tons of other ones that are low, they don't ferment as much as some, so they can be sort of better tolerated. And some people, again, like with certain amounts of fibre, they can get a bit more triggered. There's different types of fibre. So you've got soluble and insoluble fibre, and some people can tolerate some a bit better. So I don't know, if someone's really constipated, they should really get, it depends on the person, but sometimes more soluble fibre, is better. So yeah, it's working out what your intolerances are, because you do, you want that diversity because you want to build up the good bacteria in your gut, because that could be contributed to you maybe avoiding all these fruits, which is lowering your symptoms, but then you're not building up the good bacteria. So maybe you could get more intolerances. Maybe if you build up the good bacteria and have the fruits that you can actually tolerate, then you might then end up feeling better and being able to tolerate more, actually. So yeah, it's a case by case, really. But that's a general.
I'm intrigued by the UK element, and sort of coming on to that as well. I've had a suspicion for a long time that part of the reason we have so many people with gut difficulties is, one, because of the way that we live here in the UK. We're very us in the US, we're very business and work focused. It's very chaotic. I always use like London as a prime example. London, you go to London, no one wants to speak to you because everyone's got somewhere to be. You go up north, everyone wants to speak to you. So it's a generalization, but it's for the sake of the example. But it's interesting because I think part of that plays into it because everyone's so tightly wound that they're trying to get food in as quick as they can. They're just grabbing something on the go. And that's why we have all these difficulties. And it's a thing that I've had suspicions when I think of the way we live and the way we work, because I think some of the Mediterranean countries have maybe got it right, where it's a little bit more relaxed. And I think it's the same thing. I think it's something that we need to work on as well. And going back to giving people enough, like when you think of work, you think of, I'm just going to quickly eat something on my desk. No one actually takes 5 minutes and actually has food. It's always, I've got to quickly get this in because I've got to be back in my desk as soon as I can. Yeah. And I think that plays such a big part.
It really does. I was I did a workshop the other day, and I was saying that one of the first part of your digestion is, the first part is looking at the food and building up the saliva, but really the first part is the chewing. And actually, if you're not chewing your food and you've got these hard, you say you're chewing a carrot, you chew it a few times and you swallow it, the rest of your digestive system has to work so much harder to digest it, which is why you then may get some reflux as it's going down. Then you may get some, bloating and things like that. Chewing your food is as much as you can, until it gets to that kind of like mushy texture is so essential, because in your saliva, you've got all these digestive enzymes. In your saliva, you're then triggering the rest of your body, the rest of your gut to start moving things through. So that's a part of that. And also stress has such a big impact on our gut. So if you're eating really quickly, like you say, at work, rushing through your food, maybe it's not necessarily because you're eating it really quickly, but it's because you're stressed, so you're heightening all of the rest of your gut, and you're making everything potentially more sensitive. So there's a really big link, that we call it the sort of gut brain axis. There's a really big link between stress and gut symptoms and gut health, actually. So it's not a good thing. You need to take your time, put your knife and fork down in between, or take your time and have a nice chat with someone to take a break from work. Honestly, for some clients, that's been one of two things that we've done, and they feel so much better.
Full disclosure, I'm saying this, and if food eating at speed was an Olympic sport, I could probably win. That's more so because I tend to just always be hungry rather than be, rush. It tends to be just, I'm just hungry. The amount of times parents have said to me, Charlie, no one's going to take your food away from you. And I'm like, it's not intentional. I'm just eating how I eat. I was going to say, it's interesting as well that one of the things we often do as someone who's stressed is you either have you have two camps. You have your eaters and then you have your don't eaters. And it's really interesting how those two play a part.
Yeah, because for some people who, when they're stressed, they don't eat. You can get a range of symptoms there. So you may end up really constipated because you're not providing your body with enough fuel and food to be able to produce a bowel motion. And also we often see that people who aren't eating, if they're really stressed, maybe they'll then overeat because they haven't eaten for that day, or they haven't eaten for ages. So then they'll then get all this reflux and acid because they've filled up their stomach too much, and they're drinking loads as well, which is filling their stomach up with loads as well. And then it just all builds up. And then you get sort of symptoms like that. So it's a tricky one because everyone's different with what works for them. But sometimes people work better with 3 meals a day. Sometimes people actually work better with 2 meals a day, or 4 or 5 meals. Everyone's quite different. But I think as long as you're not having that time where you then feel like you have to overeat and have so much all in one go, because you actually, you've realised you're hungry because you're not so stressed anymore.
Yeah. Staying on the, I know I keep going on about, but staying on the country side of things, this is just a broader question. It was just because in my notes, Mediterranean was the example. Is there any link between like better styles of diet for your gut as opposed to other diets, if that makes sense? So like, is a Mediterranean diet better for your gut than, say, your average UK diet? Is there any evidence behind that?
Yeah, there is a bit actually. So with like the Mediterranean diet, obviously that includes more, potentially more sort of like different varieties of fruits and vegetables, and your sort of like nuts and things, and fish as well. So that there is some evidence around having more if you want to think maybe more kind of this kind of pescatarian diet. The meats is we need our iron, we need our B vitamins and things from that, but we really don't need to be having that sort of 5-6 days a week. Actually having something like fish, which contains like omega-3s and 6s, the same as like your nuts and seeds, there's some good evidence showing that can really nourish your gut and build up the good bacteria in your gut. So yes, having meat, but steering more towards having at least sort of a couple of days a week of sort of maybe a vegetarian meal, and a couple of days a week of having fish, one being oily, so like your salmon or tuna, is really good. So yeah, steering towards the Mediterranean diet is really good, and they've seen lots of benefits for the gut, and obviously a number of other benefits. But yeah, for the gut especially, it's a really good diet to follow.
What role does like fats play in gut health? Because oftentimes it's the demonized thing, and the reason I bring that into the conversation is because, as we were speaking about earlier, olive oil is something that's used very much in the Mediterranean diet. It's very much used in a lot of cooking. What role does healthy fats play in a good gut health?
Yeah. So in terms of the evidence that is out there, it more focuses on like your like omega-3s and 6s that you get from like your fish and nuts, and that's been shown to build up the diversity in your gut. Other things like, I don't know, I'm just thinking like avocado and things like that, other sort of like healthy fats, are sort of unsaturated fats. We still need a bit more sort of evidence, I guess, there. But yeah, mainly so far it's like these omega-3s and 6s. So.
I mean, with fats, it's a very split camp. You've got some people going, oh, you need some saturated fats for you. Oh no, saturated fats are bad. It's a very, no one seems to know what the right answer is. But then again, I always believe there isn't a right answer. A diet impacts people differently, so you just got to kind of go with it.
Yeah, it's so hard. It is really hard, isn't it, to know sometimes. And there's not. I think really there's not really enough evidence sort of specifically focusing on what is saturated fat doing to your gut, but it's what they've done so far really is it's focused on, okay, well, unsaturated, that's really good, we know that, but we're not too sure on what the saturated fats are kind of doing to our gut. So yeah, it's a tricky one.
I wanted to touch on some more of the work that you do, and sort of get an idea of how you go about starting to work with clients and what that journey looks like. So could you walk us through your process?
Yeah, absolutely. So if someone was interested in working with us, so yeah, if they had any gut issue that they thought we might be able to help with, then they basically have got the option of booking consult with us straight away or booking a discovery call. So in the discovery call, they've got sort of 10-15 minutes to just kind of ask any questions, go over a bit of kind of their history, just to make sure that we can sort of support them. So yeah, that's quite good. So they've got that option to book discovery calls. So then After that, then they can, basically book in a consultation with us if they want to. And what we do is we now offer a month, 3 months, or 6 months sort of packages. So basically, they'd have an hour initial consultation where we go through everything. So we go through past medical history, we go through their diet, we go through medication, supplements, we go through everything that they've tried, because 9 times out of 10 people have tried something before they come to us. So we go through everything, then we make a plan of like what we're going to work on, and then we check in like every 2 weeks, do a full check-in every 2 weeks. And then they also get email support in between that. And they also have the option of using like our nutrition tracking app, where they can track their foods and symptoms. And then I call us the gastro detectives, because what we're there to do is to, try and find, what's the patterns, what's going on, what's helping, what isn't helping. So they get loads of support, because it's no good just saying, right, this is what's going to work, off you go. You need the support to be like, these are the recipes you should follow. These, if we say about some switches you should make, these are some switches you should make. These are some recommended products or supplements that we recommend. Or, we're very holistic. So it might be that maybe they need to go and see a local pelvic floor therapist, or they need to go and potentially do something for their mental health. Like, is that going to do some yoga or some gut directed hypnotherapy? Or so, it's very holistic. So they get, a good holistic view, and it's, initial consult, 2-week full check-in. But in between that, some people will message every day and we'll just say, doing really well. Okay. Here's some recipes. Here's some ideas for today. So very supportive, because all of us dietitians on the team have all had our own gastro issues ourselves. So we know how hard it is to follow diets and have to deal with the symptoms. And having that support is just essential, to be honest. So.
And are those check-ins in person as well?
Yeah, so they've got the options of either checking in like over Zoom, or just doing a bit of a summary of what's gone well, what hasn't gone well, what do they want to do, what do they think they want to do next, and then we kind of discuss that over email, or like a video. We might send them a video as well. It's basically whatever works for the client and whichever dietitian they're working with.
What about like in terms of if you're at the stage where you're almost going to call you, but you want to try some stuff out first, where's a good place to sort of start looking in terms of either resources they can go to, or some stuff that they can try out to really get a grip of what the problem actually might be?
So we sometimes it's hard to say, because everyone's very different, but sometimes even just looking at what we kind of term like if it's IBS, first line IBS advice. So that might be something they look on, like NHS first line. Or actually, probably a better resource is the British Dietetic Association. They've got an IBS diet sheet, and it shows on there some of the first line recommendations. So chewing your food, having regular meals, drinking enough fluid. And they've got a couple of suggestions for, if you've got more sort of diarrhea or more kind of constipation sort of type symptoms. So that's quite a good resource to go to. And then we've got like a couple of blogs on our website which sort of go over that a bit as well. So I'd say first line, but what I would definitely say not to do is spend all your money on all these supplements that one of your friends has told you it's absolutely changed their life. Maybe it may help you, but that's one thing I wouldn't do. And the other thing I wouldn't do is do a food intolerance test, because it is not accurate. I wish it was, because it'd make life easier for all the clients, but it's not. So that's just one thing I wanted to say. Don't waste your money.
That's really interesting. That's really interesting. Yeah, my partner did one, and we've been kind of using that as guidance. So that puts a spanner in the works.
Sorry. I mean, right. So some of the foods, the problem I have is that some of the foods that come up is foods that you're having in your diet already. So it's for some people it helps, because it may come up with gluten or onions or something. And actually that is your intolerance, but it hasn't actually, it's not telling you what your intolerance is. It's just you've got lots of this food in your body right now. Okay, it may be a trigger for you. So yeah, it can be helpful in the way that it just like focuses your mind in on like, okay, these are some of the things that I have a lot of. But yeah, definitely don't take it for sort of like gold dust, for sure. Use it as a base. If it helps, amazing. If it's not helping, come to us.
Interesting. I mean, not to out poor Gina, but one of hers was red kidney beans. Kidney beans was one of the high scorers on her one. But to be honest, it kind of made sense because every time she had it, she was very uncomfortable. But then, is it because it's in both of our heads? Who knows?
Yeah, it's hard, and it is it can be a typical one for people. It's one of the types of fermentable carbohydrates, these FODMAPs, that we categorize some foods in, and it can be. So it may well be. And what I'd always say is, if you're excluding something, you want to do it for anywhere between 4 and 6 weeks, and then reintroduce it and retest your level of that food, because you want to make sure, was it definitely that or was it something else? So yeah.
I mean, the other thing I was going to say is that people often because one of the things that people often see when they go to see maybe their GP about dietary difficulties is it's automatically the food diary response. And I know the food diary holds so much power, but I think so many people get so paranoid when it comes to keeping that food diary that they can often beat themselves up if they go, oh, I forgot to record this, forgot to record that. How much do you guys lean on food diaries? Now, I know they play a massive part because they highlight which may be the trigger foods and give you a ballpark to play in. But I'm more trying to understand how important is it for it to be like bulletproof. Everything's down there, right down to the last kidney bean.
Yeah, it's it definitely is helpful just in the beginning to just have like even just a few days of a food diary when someone first comes to see us, just so we know what you're eating, what you like, what you don't like. For some people, it can be quite triggering actually keeping that. So like I spoke to someone this morning on a discovery call, and she's like, I think it potentially could be triggering. And so in that case, what we tend to say is, well, we don't need you to track. What we need you to write down is the days that you've got, really bad symptoms, and then just write down even just a couple of points to say, had a spag bowl, had a curry or something. And then when we speak, okay, then we can delve into it, because sometimes, and a lot of the times, people then, if they're tracking all the time, it makes them hyper-focus. Like you say, it makes them hyper-focus on the symptoms, on the food. They think everything's triggering them. So for a lot of people, it really isn't helpful. So as long as people are saying when their symptoms have flared up, then we can just have a chat about, okay, well, actually, it was probably this, that, and the other. So it depends on the person. Sometimes people really enjoy doing it, and it helps them keep them on track with what dietary changes they're making. But for people who it really potentially could trigger or is triggering or starts to trigger, we just say, right, we don't need you to do it, and we can work it out with you without having to write every little bit down.
Because I think as well, there's a huge part of, like I say, the mental power that takes, because even from speaking about Gina, one of her things that she often feared was, is it all in her head because she's thinking about it? Is that why it's appearing? And I think that's quite a dangerous cycle to be in, because you don't know if it is or if it isn't, and no one can really answer that for you. Do you see that with clients where it's almost like, because they're hyper aware of their condition and don't know what it is, they're like, oh, it must be this, it must be that, when it's actually making their symptoms worse?
Yeah, definitely. We get so many people come, and they're like, well, I'm intolerant to this, and I'm thinking, you probably aren't. It's because you're so, rightly so, you're so stressed about your symptoms, so that when you're eating, you're just constantly thinking that it's that. But the one thing to say there is, if, say, for instance, I'm eating a banana right now, and I get like really bloated, it's not that food that's causing the bloating. It's just triggering the rest of your digestive tract to start moving things through. So it's the food that you had maybe for breakfast or from dinner before. So so that's one thing that's helpful for people. But yeah, it's so, yeah, we often recommend like gut directed hypnotherapy or something to help someone's mental health or stop them hyper focusing on their symptoms, because yeah, for sure it has an impact. For me, years ago it used to be a big thing for me with my reflux. I'm like, oh, my reflux is so bad, oh gosh, I need to eat everything. So yeah, we see that so often.
On the topic of like myths and things like that, what is one of the, I mean, we've touched on probably quite a big one there of the intolerance tests. What's one of the big myths in the gut health community?
I would say probably that probiotics you should have probiotic like supplements. I feel like probiotics are so often marketed, and certain companies market themselves very well and pay a lot of influencers and celebrities to sort of promote their product. But just because a probiotic supplement is more expensive or recommended by these big influencers, it doesn't mean that that's the right one for you, because everyone is different. So what my gut loves, yours won't. So everyone is different. So I think that's a big thing for me, is that yeah, you don't need to spend more money on a product because it's going to be better. That is not the case. You can buy a product that's a quarter of the price and it will actually benefit you the same as the more expensive one. So yeah, I think you can easily spend a lot of money in the gut health world and you really don't need to.
Also, but how does someone find the right one for them? Because as you say, there's so many out there, and it almost feels like throwing stuff at a wall and seeing what sticks. How does someone find the right probiotic for them or the right supplement for them? I know, obviously, you said earlier that supplements is sort of a last resort and it's an addition into it, and it's the same thing when it comes to any kind of supplement. The whole purpose is supplement, not solution. But where can someone look if they want to try and find reputable, good places to look for a probiotic?
Yeah, so I mean, we actually on our website have a probiotic chart which people can download, and we went through like a lot of the evidence to find the ones that actually reach your gut, and also ones that are specific for, like, if you've got ulcerative colitis, one of the types of inflammatory bowel disease, or if you've got more kind of diarrhea predominant symptoms. So that's a good place to go to. We've also got some blogs about probiotics as well, so that's quite helpful. In terms of supplements, again, we've written a few about some supplements, but I would say, and for both of these, really, you really want to consult with an evidence-based dietitian or sort of nutritionist, because supplement wise, I don't know, for some they'll be good for some conditions, but for not, I don't know, for instance, like peppermint oil capsules may be good for some people with bloating, but if you've got reflux as well, you need to be careful with that. So I'd say with supplements you'd want to consult with someone rather than just going out there and sort of spending your money. There's no sort of
one shoe fits all.
Yeah.
No, I completely get that. Lastly, I just wanted to ask a question that I ask every guest, which is, what's one piece of politically correctness that you really strongly agree with or disagree with?
I disagree. I disagree that sliced bread is the best invention in the world, because mayonnaise is the best invention. I love mayonnaise. That's my
Cool, that's an unpopular opinion.
That's my favourite little treat to have with everything. Mayonnaise goes with everything. Sliced bread doesn't go with everything. It's really random.
Yeah, very true. It's very true. I mean, that is really random, but also mayonnaise is, I mean, I love mayonnaise, but mayonnaise is very dividing.
It is.
I love also getting those opinions from guests because they're completely left field and catch me completely out. So I'm here for it. I think it's a good one. Although I say I completely forgot about the saying best invention since sliced bread. I completely forgot about that. So that's now going to re my vocab. But thank you so much for coming on. I've actually learned so much. Particularly, I say I'm amazed by the intolerance testing. That was definitely a bit eye opening for me. So I'm definitely going to take that away. But thank you so much for coming on. I will link Rosie and her team's details below. So if anyone wants to check them out, I will link them below so you can pop on there and look at any of the blogs and look at all the support that Rosie and her team offer. And thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you so much for having me. I've really enjoyed chatting to you. So thank you.
Thank you so much for tuning into this week's episode of the Not Quite Podcast. Please make sure you follow us on TikTok and Instagram to get regular updates about the podcast.